Listen to me. If you are still waiting for permission to grow, 2026 is going to run you over. The world is not slowing down to explain itself to you. It's speeding up, and it rewards the prepared. This is not a speech. This is a wake-up call. Here are 6 truths you must live by if you want power, freedom, and relevance in 2026. Ignorance is no longer innocent. That sentence alone should make you uncomfortable, because deep down you already know it's true. There was a time when not knowing could be forgiven, when lack of access was a real barrier, when information was locked behind gates you couldn't open. That time is gone, completely gone. Today, knowledge is not hidden. It's screaming for your attention. It's in your pocket, on your phone, on your screen, and every single day you choose whether to reach for it or scroll past it. In 2026, ignorance is not a condition you suffer from. It's a choice you make. And choices come with consequences. The world has shifted, but many people are still living with outdated thinking. They're waiting to be taught instead of deciding to learn. They're waiting for someone to explain instead of taking responsibility to understand. And while they wait, the world moves forward without them. Industries evolve, technology advances, opportunities pass quietly to those who are ready. Ignorance doesn't announce when it's costing you. It shows up later as regret, as missed chances, as a life that feels smaller than it should. And by the time you feel that pain, the price has already been paid. Here's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. Nobody owes you clarity. Nobody owes you education. Nobody owes you success. The internet didn't just give you entertainment, it gave you responsibility. You now live in an era where learning is self-directed, self-funded, and self-disciplined. That means if you don't understand money, it's not because nobody taught you. If you don't understand how the world works, it's not because the information wasn't available. It's because comfort became more important than growth. And comfort will never educate you. Ignorance today is subtle. It doesn't look like stupidity. It looks like distraction. It looks like being busy but not progressing. It looks like consuming endless content without gaining wisdom. It looks like opinions with no research behind them. Loud voices. Weak foundations. In 2026, the most dangerous people are not the uninformed. They're the misinformed who refuse to learn. And if you don't train yourself to think critically, to question deeply, to verify what you consume, you won't just be behind, you'll be controlled. Think about how fast the world is changing. Artificial intelligence, automation, new economies, new rules. Jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago are now shaping entire industries. And while all of this is happening, some people are still saying, "I'll figure it out later." Later is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort. Later is where dreams go to die quietly. The future doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It only responds to preparation, and ignorance is the opposite of preparation. Every time you choose not to learn, something else is learning in your place. Someone else is sharpening their edge. Someone else is gaining clarity. Someone else is positioning themselves while you hesitate. The gap between those who educate themselves and those who don't is no longer small, it's massive. And it's growing every single day. This is no longer about intelligence. It's about intention. The question is not, can you learn? The question is, will you? You can't afford to live on autopilot anymore. You can't afford to accept surface-level understanding. The world rewards depth now. Depth of skill, depth of knowledge, depth of awareness. Shallow thinking leads to shallow results. and shallow results lead to frustration, resentment, and blame. When people don't educate themselves, they start blaming everything else: the system, the economy, other people. But blame is what happens when responsibility is avoided. Education forces you to take ownership, and ownership is power. Ignorance also keeps you emotionally trapped. When you don't understand what's happening around you, fear takes over. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of being left behind. And fear makes people reactive instead of intentional. They follow trends instead of building foundations. They chase quick wins instead of long-term mastery. Education calms that fear. It gives you context. It gives you confidence. It gives you the ability to move through uncertainty with clarity instead of panic. Let's be clear. Educating yourself is not about memorizing facts. It's about sharpening perception. It's about seeing patterns others miss. It's about understanding cause and effect. When you educate yourself, you stop being surprised by outcomes. You start anticipating them. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. That shift alone can change the trajectory of your entire life. But it only happens when you commit to learning beyond what's comfortable. The most expensive ignorance is thinking you have time. Time is the one resource you never get refunded. Every year you delay learning is a year you delay growth, and growth compounds. The earlier you start, the stronger you become. In 2026, those who invested in learning years ago will look lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. They chose discipline when others chose distraction. They chose curiosity when others chose comfort. They chose to educate themselves when others stayed passive. You don't need to know everything, but you do need to know enough to make informed decisions, enough to protect yourself, enough to create opportunities instead of waiting for them, enough to lead your own life instead of being led by circumstances. Ignorance hands your power away. Education takes it back, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And understand this, the cost of ignorance is not always immediate. Sometimes it shows up years later as dissatisfaction you can't explain, as potential you never fully touched, as a feeling that you were meant for more but never quite got there. That's the silent tax of not educating yourself. No one sends you the bill, but you pay it anyway. So if this makes you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the doorway to growth. Let it wake you up. Let it push you to question how you're using your time, your attention, your mind. Because in 2026, ignorance is not innocent. It is expensive, it is dangerous, and it is optional. Educate yourself, not because the world demands it, but because your future deserves it. You are becoming what you consume, whether you are conscious of it or not. Every image, every headline, every song, every conversation is shaping you quietly, steadily, relentlessly. Most people think transformation happens through big moments, but that's a lie. Transformation happens through repetition, through what you allow into your mind day after day. In 2026, your inputs will determine your ceiling. Not your intentions, not your potential, your inputs. Because whatever you feed your mind long enough will eventually show up in your decisions, your habits, and your life. The world is fighting for your attention, and it's not a fair fight. Algorithms are engineered to keep you distracted, emotionally charged, and reactive. Outrage spreads faster than wisdom. Comfort spreads faster than discipline. And if you don't consciously curate what you consume, someone else will do it for you. You'll wake up one day overwhelmed, unfocused, anxious, and you won't even know why. It won't feel like a choice, but it was. Every scroll was a vote. Every click was training. And the system never stops teaching. What you listen to becomes your inner voice. If you constantly consume negativity, your internal dialogue becomes hostile. If you constantly consume fear, your mind learns hesitation. If you constantly consume surface-level entertainment, your thinking becomes shallow. People wonder why they lack clarity, motivation, and confidence. But clarity doesn't come from motivation. It comes from alignment. You can't feed your mind chaos and expect peace. You can't feed it noise and expect direction. Your mental diet matters more than you think. Curating your inputs is an act of self-respect. It's saying, my mind is not a landfill. It's understanding that not everything deserves your attention and not everyone deserves influence over you. In 2026, attention is power. Whoever controls your attention controls your energy, your focus, and eventually your future. That's why disciplined people are selective. They choose books over gossip, long-form thinking over quick hits, conversations that sharpen them instead of entertain them. This isn't about being boring, it's about being intentional. The hardest part about curating your inputs is that it often means letting go of habits that feel good but lead nowhere. Doom scrolling, endless debates, content that numbs instead of challenges. It feels harmless in the moment, but over time it dulls your edge. It steals hours, it fragments focus. And focus is the foundation of mastery. In a world addicted to stimulation, the person who can focus deeply has a massive advantage. But focus requires boundaries, and boundaries require courage. When you start feeding your mind with purpose, something powerful happens. Your standards rise, your tolerance for nonsense drops. You begin to think more clearly, speak more precisely, and move more intentional. Why? You start noticing patterns others miss. You feel less reactive and more grounded. This isn't magic, it's alignment. You're no longer fighting yourself because your inputs support the person you're trying to become. Growth stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. Your future self is being built right now by what you consume today. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. Every podcast, every video, every article is either building you up or wearing you down. There is no neutral input. In 2026, the people who rise won't just be the smartest or the hardest working, they'll be the most intentional about what they allow into their minds. Because when you control your inputs, you control your outputs. And when you control your outputs, you control your life. Choose your inputs like your future depends on it. Because it does. Education is not about impressing anyone. It's not about sounding intelligent, collecting certificates, or winning arguments. Education at its highest level is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration you make to yourself that your life matters enough to be understood, guided, and intentionally built. In 2026, the people who educate themselves are not doing it for applause. They're doing it because they refuse to live confused, dependent, or small. They understand that no one is coming to save them, and instead of resenting that truth, they rise to meet it. When you respect yourself, you prepare yourself. You don't walk blindly into the future. Hoping things work out. You study. You ask questions. You seek clarity. You learn how things actually function, so you're not constantly surprised by outcomes you should have seen coming. Self-respect means refusing to stay ignorant about money, health, relationships, and the systems shaping your life. It means choosing understanding over avoidance, even when understanding is uncomfortable. In 2026, ignorance doesn't just limit you, it exposes you. Education is how you reclaim agency. When you don't understand something, you rely on others to decide for you what to believe, what to buy, what to fear. But when you educate yourself, that dependency fades. You stop outsourcing your thinking. You stop accepting surface-level explanations. You become harder to manipulate and easier to trust because your decisions are rooted in knowledge, not impulse. That independence is quiet power. It doesn't need to announce itself. It simply moves with confidence and clarity. There is a discipline that comes with self-education that most people avoid. It requires consistency without external validation. No grades, no applause, no deadlines imposed by anyone else, just you and your commitment to growth. That's why so many people quit. They want motivation, but education requires devotion. It's built in early mornings, late nights, and uncomfortable moments of realizing how much you still don't know. But that humility is not weakness. It's the doorway to mastery. Respecting yourself also means refusing to let your past define your ceiling. It doesn't matter where you started, what you were taught, or what you lacked. Education is how you rewrite your narrative. It's how you close gaps that weren't your fault but are now your responsibility. In 2026, the world won't ask where you came from. It will respond to who you've become. And who you become is shaped by what you choose to learn when no one is forcing you to. The people who stop learning eventually start shrinking. Their thinking becomes rigid. Their opinions harden. Their relevance fades. Education keeps you fluid, adaptable, open. It allows you to grow with the world instead of fighting it. It keeps you humble enough to listen and confident enough to lead. Self-respect isn't loud, it's consistent. It shows up as a lifelong commitment to improvement, not a one-time achievement. When you truly respect yourself, you don't settle for confusion. You don't accept stagnation. You don't wait for permission to evolve. You educate yourself because you understand that your mind is your home and you refuse to let it decay. In 2026, the ultimate flex is not status, money, or influence. It's clarity. It's competence. It's the quiet certainty that you are prepared for whatever comes next. Educate yourself not to prove your worth to the world, but to honor the value of your own life.